Okay, so Mother's Day in the U.S., it's always that second Sunday in May, right? Which for 2025, that puts it on May 11th.
That's the one.
And most of us, I think, we picture, cards, flowers, maybe scrambling to book brunch reservations.
Yeah, the usual suspects. But the actual story behind it, it's a lot more complex than just buying mom some chocolates. It goes way back.
Way back how? Like before Hallmark.
Way before Hallmark. Think ancient Greece and Rome. They had these big festivals honoring mother goddesses, Rhea, Cybele, figures like that. So the core idea of celebrating motherhood, that's ancient.
Okay, goddesses. But that feels pretty disconnected from, giving my mom a call on Sunday. How do we bridge that gap?
Right, it's definitely a leap. The more direct historical thread leads to the UK and parts of Europe with something called Mothering Sunday.
Mothering Sunday, I've heard of that. That's
Yeah.
different, though.
It is, yeah. Originally, it was the fourth Sunday in Lent. And the idea wasn't initially about your own mother, but returning to your mother church, the main church in your area for a special service. Kind of a religious homecoming.
Ah, okay. So church-focused. How did it become about, well, mothers?
Over time, yeah, the focus just sort of shifted. It became less about the church building and more about, appreciating your actual mother. Kids might give small gifts, maybe some flowers they'd picked. It faded a bit, but interestingly, it kind of merged back with the American Mother's Day later on in the 30s and 40s.
So you've got ancient reverence, a church tradition, personal gifts. It feels like a lot of threads coming together. What really kicked off the version we know?
For the modern American version, you really have to look at the 19th century. And a
Uh-huh.
key name is Anne Reeves Jarvis from West Virginia. Even before the Civil War, she started these groups called Mother's Day Work Clubs.
Mother's Day work clubs. Doesn't exactly scream greeting cards and flowers, does it? What were they for?
No, not at all. Their main goal was super practical. It was about teaching women proper hygiene and how to care for their children to try and lower the really high infant mortality rates back then. It was public health, basically.
Wow. So focus on saving lives. Really, how did that connect to the Civil War? West Virginia was right in the thick of it.
Exactly. And in that really divided area, these clubs actually became these pockets of neutrality. And Reeves Jarvis pushed for them to help both Union and Confederate soldiers, providing care and aid regardless of uniform, a unifying force.
That's pretty remarkable, using motherhood as a way to bridge that divide. Did she keep working on reconciliation after the war?
She did. In 1868, she organized something called Mother's Friendship Day. The whole point was to bring together mothers and soldiers from both sides, former enemies, to try and foster peace and, well, friendship in the community.
So the early ideas were really rooted in social action, health, peace, reconciliation. Very different from today.
Totally different. And she wasn't the only one thinking along these lines. There was also Julia Ward Howe.
Julia Ward Howe. She wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic, right?
That's her. In 1870, seeing the carnage of the Civil War and then the Franco-Prussian War in Europe, she wrote this powerful Mother's Day proclamation, sometimes called her Appeal to Womanhood Throughout the World.
Okay, another proclamation. What was her vision? More reconciliation.
Hers was explicitly about peace. It was a call to action for women, for mothers, to rise up and demand an end to war. She proposed an annual Mother's Peace Day to be held on June 2nd.
And June 2nd, not May, and focused on peace activism. Did that catch on?
It did. For a while, several cities actually held these Mother's Peace Day events in June, women gathering to promote peace. It lasted until about maybe 1913 or so. It shows how tied the early concept was to these bigger social movements.
Fascinating. So you had Anne Reeves Jarvis focused on community health and reconciliation, Julia Ward Howe on global peace.
Mhm.
Anyone else pushing for a Mother's Day?
Oh, yeah, there were others. Juliet Calhoun Blakely in Michigan, who apparently inspired a local church service for mothers back in the 1870s, and Mary Towles Sassine, a teacher, and Frank Herring, a football coach, actually, were both advocating for it around the turn of the century. Herring was sometimes even called the father of Mother's Day.
So the idea was definitely bubbling up from different places. But the one who really made it happen nationally was Anne Reeves Jarvis's daughter, Anna Jarvis.
Exactly, Anna Jarvis. Her motivation was much more personal, though. Her mother, Anne, died in 1905, and Anna felt really strongly that the sacrifices mothers make for their kids just weren't properly recognized. For her, it wasn't about peace or politics, it was about personal gratitude.
Okay, so she takes up the cause. How does she make it official? Tell us about that first celebration.
Well, she really spearheaded the effort. The first sort of officially recognized Mother's Day service happened on May 10th, 1908. It was at her mother's church, Andrew's Methodist Episcopal Church in Grafton, West
Was
Virginia.
she there?
Interestingly, no. She was in Philadelphia, where a simultaneous event was happening, funded by John Wanamaker, the department store owner, but she sent 500 white carnations to the Grafton service.
White carnations. Why those specifically?
They were her mother's favorite flower. For Anna, they symbolize, the purity, faithfulness, love of a mother. That became the flower for Mother's Day, at least initially.
So a couple of successful events. How did she get it from there to being a national holiday? That seems like a huge leap.
It was a massive effort. She launched this incredible letter-writing campaign, just poured out letters to newspapers, politicians, anyone with influence. Her main argument: American holidays were all about men's achievements. It was time mothers got their day.
Did people buy that argument right away? Any pushback?
Oh, definitely pushback, especially in Congress. When a bill was proposed in 1908, they actually rejected it. Some senators apparently mocked it, joked about needing a mother-in-law's day too. They just dismissed it.
Douglas. Right, the slippery slope argument. But she kept going.
She was relentless, and it worked. State by state, towns, churches, they started adopting it. By 1912, pretty much every state was celebrating it in some way. She also founded the Mother's Day International Association to promote it.
Wow. So the momentum built pretty quickly despite the initial resistance.
It really did, and the big moment came in 1914. President Woodrow Wilson signed the proclamation making the second Sunday in May officially Mother's Day across the country, a day for the public expression of our love and reverence for the mothers of our country.
That's huge. Anna Jarvis must have been absolutely thrilled. Mission accomplished, right?
You'd think so, and I'm sure she was initially, but this is where the story takes a really sharp, kind of sad turn.
Oh, what happened?
Well, Anna had this very specific vision for Mother's Day. It was supposed to be personal, sentimental. You wear a white carnation, you visit your mother, maybe go to church, you write her a heartfelt, handwritten letter. It was about genuine feeling, not stuff.
Okay. A simple personal day? Sounds nice.
But almost immediately after it became official, the commercial potential just exploded. Florists jacked up carnation prices, card companies started churning out pre-printed sentiments, candy makers jumped on board. It became commercialized incredibly fast.
Anna Jarvis wasn't happy about that.
Happy. She was furious, outraged. She saw it as a complete hijacking of her idea. She famously said it was meant to be a day of sentiment, not profit. She felt totally betrayed by the florists, the card companies, everyone making money off it.
So, the founder of Mother's Day ended up fighting against Mother's Day.
Pretty much, yeah. It's this incredible irony. She spent the rest of her life and her own money fighting tooth and nail against the commercialization. She started telling people, don't buy the flowers, don't buy the candies, don't buy the pre-made cards.
Wow. Did she try to, control it?
Oh, she tried everything. She incorporated herself as the Mother's Day International Association, trademarked the phrase second Sunday in May, Mother's Day, Anna Jarvis, founder. She even started handing out celluloid buttons with white carnations as a protest against the florists.
Buttons instead of flowers. Did her protests get more intense?
Yeah, they really did. She became quite confrontational. In 1923, she actually crashed a confectioner's convention in Philadelphia to protest. And get this, in 1925, she was arrested for disorderly conduct.
Arrested? For what?
For disrupting a meeting of the American War Mothers. They were selling carnations to raise funds, and she just lost it. The very flower she'd chosen as the symbol. She also went after the U.S. Postal Service when they issued a Mother's Day stamp in 1934. Thought it was just more commercialism.
Good grief. She was really taking on everyone. Did she sue people?
Constantly. Reports say she had something like 33 lawsuits going at one point against groups using the name Mother's Day commercially. She even threatened to sue Eleanor Roosevelt over some Mother's Day charity fundraising.
This sounds like it completely consumed her. What did it cost her personally?
Everything. Her time, her energy, all her inheritance. She poured every cent she had into these fights. She ended up completely broke, exhausted, and, well, deeply bitter.
That's just heartbreaking. What happened in the end?
She became pretty reclusive, and her final public act related to Mother's Day. She started gathering signatures on a petition to have Mother's Day rescinded as a national holiday.
To undo the very thing she'd worked so hard to create.
Exactly. She died penniless in a sanitarium in Pennsylvania. And people who knew her then said she deeply regretted ever starting the whole thing.
That's incredibly tragic. A vision so strong, twisted into something she hated.
It is, though there's one little story from near the end. Apparently she got a letter from a 6-year-old boy. He just thanked her for starting Mother's Day and enclosed a dollar bill he'd saved. They say she kept that letter. Maybe a tiny reminder of the genuine feeling she'd hoped for.
A small reminder, maybe, that the original sentiment still exists underneath all the commerce. So fast forward to today. Mother's Day is global now, but it's not the same everywhere, is it?
Not at all. While the US, Canada, Australia, and others follow the second Sunday in May, the dates and traditions vary wildly. The UK and Ireland still have Mothering Sunday on the fourth Sunday of Lent, tied to that older tradition.
All right. What are some other examples?
Well, many countries in Eastern Europe and Central Asia link it to International Women's Day on March 8th, so it's a celebration of mothers and all women. In the Middle East, places like Egypt, it's often March 21st, the first day of spring, symbolizing renewal.
Spring, that makes sense.
Then you've got Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala. They have a fixed date, May 10th. France is usually the last Sunday in May. Thailand celebrates on August 12th, the Queen's birthday. Argentina's in October. Russia's in late November. Norway's way up in February. It's all over the calendar.
Wow, okay. So lots of different dates. And the ways people celebrate must be different, too.
Absolutely. In Mexico and Latin America, it can be a huge deal, sometimes starting with serenading mothers with Las Mañanitas, big family feasts, very festive.
Like a party.
Totally. In Thailand, people might wear light blue, the queen's color, and give white jasmine flowers. India's seeing it grow, more focus on gifts and quality time. Here and in the UK, yeah, it's flowers, gifts, maybe a special meal out.
Yeah.
But even here, historically, it's also been a day for activism.
Activism. Like when?
Coretta Scott King led a march for underprivileged women and children on Mother's Day in 1968. And in the 70s, various women's groups used the day to highlight needs like equal rights or childcare. So it still sometimes taps back into those older social action roots.
Interesting. So it's kept evolving.
Yeah.
And in the U.S., despite Anna Jarvis's best efforts, it's a massive commercial holiday.
Oh, undeniably. It's one of the biggest spending holidays. This year, I think the projection is around, $33.5 billion in the U.S.?
Billion. Wow.
Yeah, it's huge. That's actually the second highest figure they've recorded, even with, general worries about inflation and the economy.
Yeah.
The average person is expected to spend something like $254.
What are they buying? Still flowers and cards?
Yep, those are still top, along with special outings, dinner, brunch, jewelry, and electronics are up there, too. So the commercial side Anna Jarvis fought so hard against is definitely thriving.
It's such a contrast to her original vision.
Yeah.
And it raises that point you touched on. The focus is so heavily on motherhood.
It is, and that emphasis, while celebrating mothers, can sometimes leave out or overshadow the experiences of women who aren't mothers, for whatever reason. Which is why it's good to remember International Women's Day on March 8th exists separately, to recognize all women and their contributions, regardless of motherhood.
Right, an important distinction. So when you wrap it all up, Mother's Day isn't simple at all. It's got this incredibly rich, almost contradictory history, roots in health, peace, activism.
And then this intense battle over its soul, really, between personal sentiment and massive commercialization. Anna Jarvis's story is just fascinating. Her passion to create it, and then her equal passion to, destroy what it became at huge personal cost.
It really makes you think. So as we approach that second Sunday in May, maybe it's worth considering all this history, thinking about what Mother's Day means to you personally.
Exactly. How can you capture that spirit of appreciation Anna Jarvis originally intended in a way that feels genuine? Maybe looking at how it's done elsewhere, or just being mindful of honoring the mother figures in your life beyond the shopping aisles.
And perhaps also keeping in mind that broader conversation about recognizing all women, mothers or not. It adds quite a layer to just picking out a card, doesn't it?
It really does. A lot more to it than meets the eye.